time now for us to return from Kavya to Shad-darshana territory as I invite Dr. Jayaraman Mahadevan, who is Director, Textual Research Division in Yoga Indica. Jayaraman Mahadevan ji holds a PhD in Samskrita from the University of Madras, topic being the doctrine of Tantra Yukti, a study. He underwent traditional Gurukula education in Vedas, Taittiriya Shakha Mula, and Prasthanatraya Shastras from 1998 to 2005 in Veda Vijnana Gurukulam, Bengaluru, under Pracharya Kotemane Ramachandra Bhatt. He is currently Director of Division of Textual Research in Yoga at Indica Academy. He earlier served as a Director, Research Department of Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, Chennai for over a decade from 2010 to 2021. His expertise in the field of yoga, academics, and research has been recognized and utilized by various academic and research organizations by nominating him to various academic boards and councils, including the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library at CISR, Government of India, as a task force member, Kalakshetra Foundation as a governing board member, Ministry of Culture, Government of India, Chennai. He recently received in 2021 the Samskrita Grantha Puraskara from Karnataka Sanskrit University for his Sanskrit book Mantrartha Chintanam. His Tamil translation of the Sanskrit text Hatha Yoga Pradipika was published earlier this year by Indica. Today we'll hear from him on Śabda-Yoga, role and significance of Vyākaraṇa for yoga. Over to you, Dr. Jayaraman ji.
Namaste, Aravind ji. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for that introduction. It is indeed a very great opportunity and a privilege to be part of this panel of speakers. Wonderful scholarship we could hear in the preceding papers. Now, I will get into my paper right away. I'll share the screen. I hope you can see the screen. So, this is the topic, Śabda-Yoga, role and significance of Vyākaraṇa for yoga. So that is my paper, and there is the traditional invocation that is done by every yoga practitioner across the globe. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarottam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi. So, in this very invocation itself, we can see that there is a reverential salutation to Patanjali, sage Patanjali, who this celebrates sage Patanjali, reverentially salutes sage Patanjali as Padena Vacham, so who did the Vyākaraṇa Shastra also, who created the Vyākaraṇa Shastra for Padashuddhi also. So, in that sense, that there is a reverential connection, knowingly or unknowingly, people across the globe, they salute sage Patanjali, those practitioners of yoga, they salute sage Patanjali as a Vyākaraṇakara also. So, in that sense, there is a reverential connect already there in practice across the globe, across all yoga studios in the world. So, so we can see such a connection, beautiful connection existing. Now, now let's go into how important is this topic in the context of the Vyākaraṇa for this Yoga Shastra. So I feel that it is very important because of certain things. So in the light of, we can see that there is attempts to trivialize the role of Samskrita for yoga by certain pseudo-intellectual activity. Prajñāvāda, I'll just give a brief aspects. And then this Vyākaraṇa for yoga is very important because the misleading dictionary entries, if someone says why we need Vyākaraṇa or Sanskrit for yoga, I will consult dictionary. Dictionaries are also problematic. And then even in the interpretations, there are, so if someone says, I will use the translations, those translations and interpretations are also fanciful. So we can see, I will just give certain ideas in this regard. First emphasizing how important this topic, and then we'll give certain examples for that. Now, so in that light, Vyākaraṇa and Samskrita for yoga is very important. I'll just give one example for the pseudo-intellectualism, Prajñāvāda, as Bhagavan Krishna would put. So to trivialize the role of Samskrita for yoga, there was an article in 2018 which says, what is in the name? By a very people who are known to be associated with a very revered tradition in yoga. So in that article, unsuspectingly in the Hindu itself, it was published. So practicing the true aim of yoga to calm and control the mind does not require a knowledge of Sanskrit. So we can see that without Samskrita or Vyākaraṇa or the Shastric approach of learning the Samskrita, how would one know the true aim? Then only when one knows the true aim, one can practice. So this is why what I call as pseudo-intellectualism in trivializing the role of Samskrita. And the same article says, many variations of asanas are easier practiced and described than named, especially in Sanskrit. So this is another gem of a quotation that we find from this article. Again, the problem here is, see, without naming an asana, and the Samskrita names are very appropriate. Without naming them in Samskrita, how would you may practice for yourself, but how would you teach that without naming? So in that sense, so these are very, very, very shallow kind of things, but are very popularly circulated in media like the Hindu. And I'm not going into refuting that article in this now, because it has already been done. I have done it in 2018 in an article. So the links will be shared now in the chat box. So you can read. So how attempts are made to trivialize Samskrita's role and in learning yoga. And again, if someone says, as I mentioned earlier, I will consult the dictionaries. No need for yoga, no need for Samskrita or Vyākaraṇa. The dictionary entries are not only misleading, they are notorious also. For example, one of the famous dictionaries, that is of this Monier-Williams, we can see that for the word yoga and especially the Hatha Yoga, so he says that a kind of forced yoga or abstract meditation in which performed with much self-torture, such as standing on one leg, holding up the arms, inhaling smoke with head inverted. See, these are all the terrible interpretations, that entries that you get in Hatha Yoga on the term Hatha Yoga in the so-called famous dictionary Monier-Williams. Whereas, is this really Hatha Yoga? When we come to the Samskrita literature, where they give the word split, etc. Hascha Hascha Hathau Surya Chandrau Tayor Yogaha Hatha Yogaha Pranapanayor Aikya Lakshanaha Pranayamo Hatha Yogaha. So where is pranayama, the traditional understanding of Hatha Yoga, and where is this self-torture of hanging upside down, etc., and smoking, etc.? So dictionaries are also misleading. So hence one cannot say that I can merely depend upon dictionary and then no need for Samskrita or Vyākaraṇa. Then again, even the Western scholars on yoga, they themselves feel that there are fanciful interpretations in translations and editions of Yoga Sutra, where they say all kinds of fanciful explanations have been proposed for this aphorism, especially 2.47, Prayatna Shaithilya Ananta Samapattibhyam. So this is stated by none other than George Feuerstein, one of the respected translators of Yoga Sutra. So again, translations and interpretations are fanciful. Dictionary entries are misleading, and also we can see attempts for trivializing Samskrita. So in this light, it is indeed very important for the right understanding of the import of Yoga Shastra. Only when we understand, we can practice well. So it is very important we get to Samskrita and that to get to Vyākaraṇa. And one more general argument that will be said, that why Vyākaraṇa, etc. Because yoga is a practice discipline. No need for any textual study and the least grammar. So why would I get into entangle myself into grammar? Because it's a practice discipline. Yoga is a practice discipline. No need to study. to this, if this question is raised, again, the traditional acharyas themselves respond. They say that yoga is not all practice alone. It is also study. Swadhyaya yogamasita, yogat swadhyaya mamane, swadhyaya yoga sanyuktya paramatma prakashate. So Swadhyaya and Yoga should go together. In this context, Swadhyaya is, in Yoga Shastra commentaries, we see Swadhyaya, Moksha Shastra Adhyayanam, Pranavadi Mantra Japova, that is Swadhyaya. And Yoga here in this context means the practice of yoga like asana, pranayama, dhyana, etc. So the study of the Shastra and also the practice of yoga should go together. So no escape by saying that only then the practice will be enriched by knowledge, or else if there is a disconnect between practice and knowledge, we will be clutching only at the straws of the yoga. So in that sense, Swadhyaya, study, is very essential component of yoga. And then now let's latch on to the word Swadhyaya and slowly connect back to the Vyākaraṇa. So how do we understand the word Swadhyaya? Again, popularly mistranslated word Swadhyaya is Swadhyaya, means self-study. No. If you consult the Sayana Bhashya, especially Swadhyaya, Anma, Pramadaha, in this context where Swadhyaya is used, Sayanacharya in his Bhashya says, Swadhyaya is to be analyzed grammatically in this way. Su-a-adhyaya, sushtu avritya adhyaya swadhyaya. So, adhyaya is a study and sushtu avritya. Sushtu means well. So, the study adhyaya should be sushtu, well, and avritya should be repeated. Means once I read the Yoga Sutra, I am done with it. No, it cannot happen. There should be avritti. And then in the process of studying, it should be sushtu also. The study should also be well. Now let's focus on this well aspect. So how to do the sushtu adhyaya? So how to do the sushtu study of this Yoga Shastra? So we can see that acharyas are there to guide us. So yairime gurubhit purvam pada vakya pramanataha vyakhyata sarva vedantaha tannityam pranatosmiham. So especially this Shankaracharya Bhashya Shloka, it says that sushtu adhyaya of any Shastra, be it Vedanta or especially it was stated in the context of Vedanta, which is equally applicable to Yoga. So any study of Shastra with Pada, Vakya and Pramana Shastra, which was already mentioned by Arvindji in the introduction. Pada Shastra is Vyākaraṇa, Vakya Shastra is Mimamsa, Pramana Shastra is Nyaya Shastra. So any adhyaya or study of Shastra with these aids, then it becomes a sushtu adhyaya. Or so there already Pada Shastra is there. So to make your adhyaya or study sushtu, Pada Shastra or Vyākaraṇa Shastra is critical. Hence it is critical as it is true for any other Shastra. It is true for Yoga Shastra also. Now we can the sushtu of it can be approached in a different angle also, much more focused on the Vyākaraṇa Shastra. In Patanjala Rahasya commentary to Yoga Sutra, we see a beautiful shloka which is popular elsewhere also. Padacchedaha padarthoktihi vigraho vakya yojana akshepasya samadhanam vyakhyanam panchadha akshepasya samadhanam vyakhya panchavidha smrita. So sushtu adhyaya can happen through Padavakya Pramana Shastras, and that too, sushtu adhyaya or studying well with the Pada Shastra can be done well, really well, through the Vyakhya Krama. What is Vyakhya Krama? Vyakhya Krama contains 5 components. Padacchedaha, Padarthokti, splitting of the words, Padarthoktihi, meaning of the words, stating the meaning of the words, and Vigraha, splitting the compounds, and then Vakya Yojana, connecting the sentence, paraphrasing it appropriately, Akshepasya Samadhanam, responding, resolving objections. So, so this is Vyakhya Krama. In this Vyakhya Krama, there is a critical, so Vyakhya Kramena Sushtu Adhyaya. Sushtu Adhyaya, studying well in the Vyakhya Krama, involves these 5 aspects. And in all these 5 aspects, there is a very critical role of Vyākaraṇa or Pada Shastra. For Padacheda, Sandhi knowledge is needed. So only then you can split it properly. Sandhi coupled with abhyasa, bhasha abhyasa and sandhi is essential. For padarthokti, to explain the meaning of the word, to derive the etymology, there is a requirement of the capability to analyze viveka of prakriti and pratyaya. What is the root word? What is the suffix, prefix, etc. So dhatu, pratyaya, the krit, tadhita, all these pratyayas, that knowledge is needed. And then for vigraha, the samasa vritti is to be known, bahuvihi, dvandva, all those karmadharaya, vigu, so all these samasas are required. Knowledge of that is required. For vakya yojana, again, for paraphrasing, the knowledge of vibhaktis, the knowledge of karaka, visheshana visheshya bhava, all these is necessary. And for akshepasya samadhanam, all the above are needed and more. So in that sense, that for sushtu adhyaya of any shastra, including yoga shastra, Vyakhya krama can be taken, and in that Vyakhya krama we see all these role of Vyākaraṇa shastra very well. And then I will be giving one example each for all these, one or two examples each for how Padacheda is important for Yoga Shastra, Padarthokti, Vigraha, Vakya Yojana, Akshepasya Samadhana, to illustrate that by approaching Yoga Shastra with this Vyakhya krama, which indeed is which indeed stands on the basis or the cornerstone of Vyākaraṇa, how it becomes very meaningful. So in consulting, the examples are provided from the Yoga Sutras with the commentaries, Hatha Yoga Pradipika with Jyotsna commentary, and Bhagavad Gita with Shankara Bhashyam. In the sense, we would have covered almost various strands of yoga. Their Ashtanga Yoga, Kriya Yogas are covered. Asana Pranayama Mudra, Hatha Yoga tradition is covered, and then Karma Bhakti Jnana Raja Yogas are covered. In the sense, while taking up for the illustrating the 5 dimensions of Vyakhya Krama Adhyayana, then the examples are taken from these sources, which in a sense covers almost the various shades and strands of yoga. So we'll go into each of these dimensions of Sushtu Adhyaya through Vyākaraṇa. So for Padacheda, we'll see the example. Being in the field of yoga for the last decade and a half, I've seen very horrible word splittings that are done for the words of Yoga Sutra, especially. For example, there is this word Prayatna Shaithilyananta Samapattibhyam, 2.47, which was earlier mentioned by George Feuerstein, where fanciful interpretation occurs. So this Prayatna Shaithilya Ananta Samapattibhyam is split as Prayatna, Shaithilya, Ananta, Samapatti and Bhyam. So, but those who are trained in the Vyākaraṇa Shastra would know that this is one Samasta Pada, that is Prayatna Shaithilya Ananta Samapattibhyam, where Prayatna Shaithilya is a meaningful unit, and then Ananta Samapatti is a meaningful unit. So two techniques, when these two combine, so it becomes Prayatna Shaithilya Ananta Samapatti, and the third case is Prayatna Shaithilya Ananta Samapatti Bhyam, so the instrumental case. So this much of knowledge goes in understanding the form, or else people end up splitting it as Prayatna, Shaithilya, Ananta, Samapatti and Bhyam, and they give meaning for each of this without knowing how they are connected or fused together or held together through the samasa. So that is one example that how word splits can go horribly wrong. And for example, again we see Yoganushāsanam in Yoga Sutra itself. The word Yoganushāsanam is there. I have also heard in certain conferences, much of the time is wasted on whether it is yog or yoga. People quarrel over these. In North India, they say it as yog, and in popular usage, it is called as yoga. So then there is a quarrel, which is whether it is yog or yoga. Neither it is. If a person knows the Savarna Dirgha Sandhi, one can know that it is yoga Anushāsanam, Hrasva Akara at the end and Anushāsanam, or else there will be a quarrel and precious time will be wasted in conferences. And then again, Swarupe Vasthanam. So this Purva Rupa is there. If that Purva Rupa Sandhi Jnana is there, we will split it as Swarupe and Avasthanam, or else we will end up Dashara Mashara, doing the Dashara Mashara thing. So in this way, all the Visarga Sandhi and other Sandhis are there. The knowledge is very essential. Dukkha Daurmana Syangame Jayatva Shwasa Prashwasa Vikshepa Sahabhuva. Long sutras are there. So hence, in that context, to unpack the meanings, first we have to split the words properly. These are fashionable words which are used, unpacking the meanings, etc. First, the basic things we have to do is to split the words properly to get to the meaning. So for this, the knowledge of Sandhi is very essential, without which the interpretations can go horribly wrong. So this is not only for Yoga Sutra, even in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, right in the first shloka, there is a long expression. Vibhrajate pronnata rajamargam arodhum icchan adhirohiniva. So this needs quite a lot of word splitting. Pronnata rajamargam arodhum icchan adhirohini iva. If a person can split it confidently, then the explanation of the meaning can go about in a confident manner, or else there is a lot of problem. Even in description of asanas, for example, in the Virasana, Vinyase Duruni Sthiram, it has to be split as Vinyaset Uruni. Again, Itarasmim Tatha, Itarasmin Tatha. So, when even the correct technique of practice of asana, the shlokas that are there, they are fused with conjunctions. So, only when we have the knowledge of the sandhis, or at least the bhasha abhyasa, to split the sandhis properly, we can get to the technique properly, which is true for pranayama also. Pratar madhyandine sayam ardharatre cha kumbhakan shanai rashiti paryantam chaturvaram samabhyase. So again, same example from Hatha Yoga Pradipika, shanaihi ashiti paryantam, the visarga sandhi. So in this way, to get to the techniques properly, we have to read the shlokas properly. To read the shlokas and understand the meaning properly, we have to be able to split the words properly, which comes from the Sandhi Jnana and Bhasha Abhyasa, which is true for Bhagavad Gita also. How to meditate? Tatraikagram manah krutva yata chittendriya kriyaha upavishyasane yunjyat yogam atma vishuddhaye. Lot of word splits are involved. Yunjyat yogam atma vishuddhaye. Similarly, the lifestyle is also important in the practice of dhyana. So, natyashnatastu yogosti, that is described in this shloka. Natyashnatastu yogosti, na atyashnataha tu yogaha asti. Similarly, nachati swapnashilasya, na cha atiswapnashilasya. So, neither too much of sleep nor excess eating. So, all these very critical, crucial inputs on lifestyle disciplines which are part of yoga practice, they are expressed in Samskrita shlokas with a lot of conjunctions. We need the ability to split them properly, again, to get to the techniques properly. So for Padacheda, which leads to Sushtu Adhyaya of Yoga Shastra, of course, we need Vyākaraṇa Jnana and Bhasha Abhyasa. Now let us go to the second aspect, that is Padarthokti, to give the meaning. So to the ability to derive the meaning of the words. So for that, as I mentioned earlier, the Prakriti Pratyaya Jnana, what is the Dhatu, what is the Pratyaya, that's very essential. Let's get to a few examples in this. The very meaning of the word yoga, let us see that. So in that commentary, so what is the meaning of yoga? Generally, whenever someone starts a talk on yoga, they will say yoga is union. So that's how the talk begins. What union? Trade union? We don't know. But in the context of Yoga Sutra, what is the meaning intended for the word yoga? So from where it is to be derived? What is the contextual meaning that is implied in that text, particular, specific to the text? We see the commentators clarify it by taking recourse to Vyākaraṇa, by taking recourse to the Dhatu Patha, where they say Shabda Sandeha Nimittam Artha Sandeham Apanayati. So what are the elements? What is the Dhatu from where this word has been derived? So based on which we explore that the Artha Sandeha, the doubt on the meaning, can also be overcome. So Yuja Samadho ityasmad vyutpannaha samadhyarthaha natu yujiri yoge ityasmad sanyogartha ityarthaha. Tattva Vaisharadi commentary of Vachaspati Mishra says Yuji yoge is not the route to be taken while explaining the meaning of the word yoga in the context of Yoga Sutra. Yujiri yoga may be applicable to the other disciplines of yoga where they say Jivatma Paramatma Sanyoga, Yoga Sanyoga Ityuktaha Jivatma Paramatmanoho, but that meaning does not apply here in the Patanjali Yoga Shastra. So Yuja Samadho is the root which is to be taken as the authority which gives us the meaning Samadhi, which is further described and elaborated upon in the Yoga Shastra. So a clarity of meaning of Yoga Shastra is padded up or supported by the Vyākaraṇa Shastra, by the Jnana of the Vyākaraṇa Shastra, and it doesn't end there. In Yoga Vartika it says that the Yuja Samadhi that the Shabdikas say is different from the Samadhi that the Yoga Shastra has. So further, more and more such analysis, deeper, in-depth analysis are possible of what exactly is the meaning of the word Samadhi, which the grammarians intend, and what exactly is Samadhi that is described in the Yoga Shastra. So such a deeper, authentic discussions can further happen only when there is a starting point or a source of reference like Vyākaraṇa, which gives the support. So this is one example for Padarthokti on the word, on determining the meaning of the word yoga itself in the context of Yoga Sutra. From yoga, let us move to bhoga. So another example, and bhoga is also a yogic term only. So we have the sutra that is Satimule Tadvipako Jatyajur Bhogaha, the 13th sutra in the 2nd chapter. What is the meaning of the word bhoga in the Yoga Sutra? To this, Bhoja in his commentary, Bhoja, Rajamartanda commentary, has written a Rajamartanda commentary in the 10th century. So he gives a beautiful interpretation to the meaning of the word bhoga in the context of yoga. So what he says, Vishayaha Indriyani Sukha Dukkha Samvicha. So the meaning of bhoga is Vishayaha, the objects of senses. The meaning of the word bhoga is the sense organs. The meaning of the word bhoga is Sukha Dukkha Samvicha, the experience of Sukha and Dukkha. So threefold meanings are given to the word bhoga in the context of Yoga Shastra, the 2 Sutra 2.13 by Rajamartanda. How come he gives this threefold meaning to the word bhoga? For this, he has taken recourse to Vyākaraṇa. He says, Karma, Karana, Bhava Sadhana Vipatya, Bhoga Shabdasya. Because the word bhoga can be derived vipatti by the karma, karana and bhava sadhana approaches. So what does this mean? Let's see. What is karma vyutpatti? So bhujyante ye te bhogaha. This is karma vyutpatti. Those that are experienced, that is bhoga, the objects of the senses. So this speaks about the karma phala. So karma phala is experienced in 3 ways by any Jivatman in the next birth. One is Jati, Ayu and Bhoga. Jati is the species of birth, human being, cat, cow, etc. That is one karma phala, one aspect of karma phala. Ayu is lifespan, and the third aspect is Bhoga. So in the life that is taken, what are all the objects that a person will be experiencing? Will he have a own house? Will he own a car? Will he have jewelry, etc. So what are all the objects? So that is bhoga, and then that is attained by the karma vyutpatti, those that are experienced. Then karana vyutpatti, the instrument. So this is the object oriented derivation, and this is instrumental derivation of the same word bhoga using the same word bhujya, where it says bhujyate yebhihi iti bhogaha, those by which one experiences. So this is the instrumental derivation, the sense organ. See, how do we enjoy the objects of the senses? By the sense organ. So they become the meaning of the word bhoga by the instrumental derivation. By that, the indriyas become bhoga. So that is also karma phala. Indriyas are also karma phala. Whether I will have good eyesight, will I be able to hear properly? So whether there will be no impairment because of karma phala. Karma phala also includes the proper functioning of, or the nature of functioning of the senses. Will there be impairment, or will there be any physical challenges, etc. So that aspect is also karma phala, derived by the instrumental derivation of the word bhoga, which comes from Vyākaraṇa jnana. And then there is bhava sadhana vipatti, where bhujyate iti bhogaha, the act of experiencing. So what are all the kinds of experience that a person in the due to karma phala will have? The experience of happiness and sorrow. Sukha, will he lead a happy life, or will his life be full of dukkha? So all this derivation for one word, that is bhoga. So the word bhoga means objects of the senses. The word bhoga means the sense organs. The word bhoga means the experience of happiness and sorrow. All these meanings are packed within the word bhoga used by Patanjali, Satimule Tadvipako Jatyayur Bhogaha. And these meanings can be unpacked only with the Vyākaraṇa Jnana of Karma Karana Bhava Sadhana Vipatti, who is capable. These keys are accessible only to the person who is empowered with the Vyākaraṇa Jnana. So in Padarthokti, and again, staying with the second aspect, that is Padarthokti, let me give one more example, which is indeed very practical, solves a very critical question. In Hatha Yoga, there is this Uddiyana Bandha. What is Uddiyana Bandha? Means it is drawing the abdomen back, very much back. So among the three bandhas, Jalandhara Bandha, Mula Bandha, and Uddiyana Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha is drawing the abdomen very much back. So now there is a controversy, or there is a discussion in the practice tradition, and also in the text. Text say that Uddiyana Bandha happens when the breath is within. In the practice tradition, we see after the breath is exhaled, only the abdomen can be drawn back, which sounds very sensible. Means that's how it is done normally. But what is the meaning of the word? Pranastu uddiyate yataha. And then uddinam kurute smad avishrantam mahathagaha uddiyanam tadevasta tatra bandho vidhiyate. These are the verses that describe Uddiyana Bandha, which is explained in the commentary. Utpurvat being vihayasa gatav ityasmat karane lyut. This is the Hatha Yoga Pradipika Jyotsna commentary, which says, so on doing which bandha, the prana flies into the sushumna nadi, which essentially means if the prana or the breath has to fly into the sushumna nadi, the breath should remain within. So that meaning, the classical meaning of Uddiyana Bandha, or the classical practice, the clarity that the classical practice of Uddiyana Bandha can happen only when the breath is within Antah Kumbhaka. That is clarified through the very derivation of the etymology, where being Vihayasa Gatav and the Uddiyana Bandha. But of course, there is a Sahaja Uddiyana Bandha which is practiced after exhaling. So to attain the entry of prana into Sushumna, this classical Uddiyana Bandha has to be done. There is a Sahaja Uddiyana Bandha which is done elsewhere also. But this clarity that what exactly the text say is arrived even by derivation of the word Uddiyana Bandha through the Vyākarana. So Padarthokti, for Padarthokti, the Prakriti Pratyaya Jnana is very essential, and that is achieved through the Vyākarana Shastra only. And then in this same way, Vigraha, the third aspect of Vyākhyana is Vigraha, where we see that splitting of the compounds. For example, in certain places, you can see in Yoga, Drashtradrishya Sanyogaha iti tu vaktavye Prithak Vibhakti Grahanam Tayor Bhinna Jatiyatva Khyapanarsam. Sutra 2.17. Drashtradrishyayo Sanyogo Heya Hetuhu. What is the Heya Hetu? What is the cause of suffering? The sutra reads Drashtradrishyayoho Sanyogaha. There, Drashtradrishya Sanyoga, the compound could have been done, but the compound is not chosen by Patanjali. So he has split it. Drashtradrishyayoho Sanyogaha. He has kept it separate. Why? Prithak Vibhakti Grahanam Tayor Bhinna Jatiyatva Khyapanatham. See, Drashta, the seer, the consciousness, Drishyam, the object, the body, mind, senses, etc. A compound has not been done here. Why? To show that in reality, there cannot be a conjunction between the Drashta and Drishyam. For that, Patanjali has not done the samasa there, though samasa is possible. So this subtle philosophical flavor of the words can be grasped only when we see samasa or absence of samasa, which comes from the knowledge of Vyākaraṇa, and much more practical application of samasa, very critical application of samasa comes when we consult the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, where we see there is a prescription of certain diet. Abhyasa kale prathamam shastam kshirajya bhojanam. So the word that we have to focus upon is kshirajya bhojanam. In the preliminary practice of pranayama, kshirajya bhojanam has to be taken. So what is kshirajya bhojanam? Kshira Adya Bhojanam. Very common, used in other regional languages also. Bhojanam means a meal. A meal. So the general meaning that we get is a meal with milk, a meal of, it can be a meal of milk and ghee. So then a doubt will come in the mind of the practitioner. So in the beginning stages of pranayama, should I eat only milk or consume only milk and ghee? To that, the commentator clarifies, no need for only liquid or semi-solid diet of milk and ghee alone. The commentator, taking recourse to Vyākaraṇa Samasa Shastra, he says, Kshiram Dugdham Ajyam Ghritam Tad Yuktam Bhojanam Kshirajya Bhojanam Shakaparthivaadivat Samasaha. See, that is an interesting samasa. Shakaparthivaha, the vegetable king. So vegetable king, what does this mean? So for that the samasa is done. Shaka Priyaha Parthivaha, a king, Parthivaha, who is Priya, fond of Shaka. So there the word Priya is dropped. So the samasa is Madhyama Padalopa samasa. So Shaka Parthivaha. Similarly here also there is a elision or a dropping of the word here. A word is dropped. So in the process of samasa, which means Kshirajya Yuktam Bhojanam, means a food or a meal which includes milk and ghee, and a bhojanam is not merely kshira and ajya. So this Madhyama Padalopa samasa gives the clarity that one need not only take these milk products along with the food, along with the rice, one has to add milk and also ghee sufficiently in the beginning stages of pranayama. So such is the very critical role of Vyākaraṇa in the practice or dietary aspect for a practitioner of pranayama. And similarly again,
Jayaraman time check.
I will wrap it up. In the same way for Vakya Yojana, there are so many examples. Akshepasya Samadhanam also, there are examples from Vyākaraṇa Shastra. I will just wrap it up in another 3 minutes. So as we could see, for correct words, what are all the meanings possible to be taken, and then what is dhatvartha, what is the meaning to be accepted and what to reject, understand the classical meaning, and then avoiding general perception and what is the context specific meaning, philosophical flavor and subtleties that is to be grasped by explaining the compound there, Drashtradrishya Sanyoga. Correct dietary principle even is understood by Vyākaraṇa Shastra, and so on and so forth. So it is undeniable that Vyākarana is very essential in the context of Yoga Shastra. To state in conclusion, so Vyakarana empowers with the grammatical frameworks to safeguard us from misinterpretation and also to see new lights of meanings. And then, but nothing is easy. Vyakarana is also not easy. Similarly, practice of Yogasana is also not easy. Bending the back, stretching forward, stretching laterally. All this is not easy at all. Vyakarana is also, anything new is not easy. Hence, perceived difficulty is not an excuse not to study Vyakarana. One has to put in the effort if one wants authentic knowledge. If one has to have the pure Ganga Jala, one has to go to the Gangotri in the same way. So, if not going to the level of Kaumudi or Bhashya as elaborated by the previous speakers, at least the Bhasha Abhyasa, we have to converse. As we converse, the words will start flowing. So then we can understand what could be the correct sandhi. So intuitively, certain sandhis and samasas will come to us as we do the Bhasha Abhyasa. And also, if Vyakarana sounds very boring, at least the study of yoga literature with the Vyakhyana Parampara, Vyasa, Bhoja, Sadashiva Brahmendra, all these Vyakhyanakāras are there who have adhered to Vyakarana principle. So let us approach the Yoga Shastra with the commentaries. Then, by implication, we will get into Vyakarana Shastra. The Vyakhyanakāras will take us through with the help of Vyakarana only. They will help us explain. So if not Vyakarana study exclusively, let us study yoga literature with the Vyākyanas, then Vyākarana study is also implied therein. So, these are the, hence we can see that to refine our intellect, Agama is essential, like practice and the Anumana as Agama and Anumana, as Abhyasa and Anumana is essential for any study. Agama or authentic knowledge is very essential, and that authentic knowledge comes through the Swadhyaya, Sushtwadhyaya, comes through the study of Vyakarana. And this is not mere statement. I'll just share one effort by the Indica textual division. We have created a Śabda-Yoga web repository where an analytical textual web repository of yoga terms are there, where each and every Yoga Sutra terms are analyzed with the prefix, root and suffix analysis. And then we have the lexical entries for the same yoga words, and also references. What are all the shades in which those words are used in Yoga Sutra, Bhagavad Gita and Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which are very critical texts in Yoga Shastra. So this can be seen in these two links. So which will help us, which will connect us, which will connect the yoga practitioners to Vyakarana, and thereby connect us to the pure and authentic source of knowledge of yoga. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jayaramanji. As always, superbly textually grounded and simultaneously flowing and accessible. Reminder to all of us of how Swadhyaya is integral to sadhana and how Vyakarana is indispensable to Swadhyaya. After that reminder of Swadhyaya, it's time for us to go to the Adhyeta or the Vidyarthi, which our next speaker will be speaking about.